Hi, this is Sean Parker. I am the moderator of the Fill in the Blank podcast series and also president of the Ohio Republican Council of Clubs as well as the Dublin Republican Club. And wanted to just kind of go into the goals of what we're trying to accomplish with our club system. A lot of people have been asking me what we're doing, why we're doing it, are we successful, how does it work, everything from A to Z. So I wanted to spend a few minutes and just talk to folks about how we came about, why we came about, and what we're trying to accomplish. So I came into the political work of this recognizing that we as Republicans, we as conservatives, which are sometimes not the same thing in many people's minds, but most of the time it really is well aligned, that we have gaps in the way that we are working with our constituency, the way that we are supporting our candidates, and the way that we are advancing the belief system that we work under. And as a rule, what's disturbing is when we take a look at the liberals and we take a look at the advancement of these hard to understand ideas that go against a lot of our foundational premises of America, that they're winning, that they're doing a very, very good job of moving these things forward, that they are actually beating us on many, many levels. And our politicians, which we have the smartest politicians, the smartest office holders in the political market. I come from a background of consumer marketing, so I'll use the word political marketplace to define the aggregate of what we're looking at. We don't have great planning in some respects. For example, at the local level, we don't necessarily train our people to win campaigns. We recruit people to run for office, but we don't necessarily put the pieces in place to support them at all levels. And recently we've learned that we have to win school board races, that there's a big thing going on where suddenly the light bulb went on. We knew it a few years ago, that we are losing a generation in terms of understanding the basics of how this country was founded, the basics of how our government works. Even though in Ohio we require kids to take, I believe it's 3 years of history and a government course, we're letting those kids graduate out of school or they drop out of school and they have no idea how they are the common denominator of how everything works. So that'll be a theme and something that we talk about on a regular basis. But I took a look at it and I said, what is the basis of the American political system? How did we get here and who are we? And we got here back in the 1750s, 1760s, primarily in Boston, when a bunch of people got together and said, we don't like the way this government runs. And we had some tremendously amazing thinkers. They called it the Age of Enlightenment. And we looked at the deep, deep philosophers of mankind and understood that government is not always in our best interest the way that it presents itself. Sometimes it actually works to preserve itself and for it to constantly get bigger. Our founding fathers knew that. We see that today. That's a big question. Once an agency is put into place, can it ever go away? And for the most part, that answer is no. We solidify these things and then we just keep throwing money at it. And then it comes after us for even more money, to the effect that suddenly we don't realize that more than half of every dollar, in some cases 80 cents of every dollar, depending on what you're purchasing, is actually taxation driven. So we become very inefficient. The people don't get to choose the lives that they live. We will talk through the series of our podcasts with different business executives and business leaders. And we'll find that a lot of times when we think we're making choices, the choices have been made. We're just getting to look at 2 or 3 different options when we should have many, many options. So getting back at it, what we wanted to do is we wanted to get the power back to the people. We wanted the people to have direct conversations with their political leaders. And we started this at our Dublin Republican Club. We decided that we needed to replicate this model, and we did that throughout northern Franklin County to start. We are now having people approach us from Cincinnati, Cleveland, Youngstown, small towns like Xenia, Apple Valley, Columbiana, Ohio. And they're saying, how can we do this as well? So we want people to be the drivers of our government. We want people to be involved in the government, and having a small club system where it has regularly scheduled events and people can come, they can meet their local leaders, their school board people, their school superintendent, their village council leaders, their township trustees. The conversation becomes meaningful and the issues can be brought forward and solved with the people in the room in many cases, sometimes not. And then also bring in the Secretary of State, bring in Chief Justices or Justices of the Supreme Court. Learn, one, what they do, so it's educational. Number two, have a dialogue with them so they are not so foreign to us, because in one sense they work for us. They are our employees, so to speak, and we're looking for the brightest, smartest people to fill these positions and to take care of the business of operating our government. And we have not necessarily done a great job of recruiting the best people for a number of these jobs, and we have not done a great job of vetting who gets to run for these offices. We often are left with two people to choose from, generally a Democrat or a Republican, and you look at them and you say, okay, who's the better person for this position? That's the way we should always be making our decision. But what if there's 3 or 4 people who were not included in that process who were better for those jobs? That's what we want to do, is get this power back to the people so we find the best people to run our government and to create a dialogue system for everyone to be able to participate. And the other part is to make it fun, to make it enjoyable. Obviously, hard questions occasionally need to be asked, but when we can personalize the faces of the people in our government, it makes it much more agreeable and enjoyable to interact with our government, so that ultimately the American idea that we are the people in charge of our government is fulfilled and that we're part of the process. So that's why we built the club system. There's a lot of offshoot ideas that happen there because it also creates opportunities for people to work for candidates and to help candidates be successful. If you are looking to be a member of a club by listening to this podcast, let us know. You can go to Ohio Council of Republican Clubs, www.ohiorcc.org. Ohio, the letter R, the letter C, the letter C.org. You can go to dublingop.org. We will help you find a club. If there is not a club in your area that you would like to be a member of, maybe you would be willing to start a club. We'd like to talk to you about that as well. Clubs do not need to be geographic in nature per se. They can be a group of people with common interests. For example, we have a Franklin County Lawyers Club that is comprised of people who practice law in Franklin County, and they are members of the Franklin County Republican Lawyers Club. We have one in Delaware County as well. So you can be like-minded. The main thing is that you have a group that is willing to listen, willing to learn, and willing to do things on a regular basis to make sure that you are actively participating or paying attention or simply learning about what is happening at your local level, your state level, and your federal level, so we can be involved and be in control of our governmental process as citizens like we're supposed to be. Hey, thanks for giving us your time to listen. You've been listening to Fill in the Blank with Sean Parker, where we talk about the issues of politics and the geopolitical marketplace as well as economics. If you like our channel, please subscribe to us at Fill in the Blank on YouTube, and be sure to listen every week as we come back to you with some of the most thought-provoking people of the day. And learning is always the key to what we're trying to do.